you very much. Thank you very much. That's beautiful. So, yes, to the presenter founder, it's your turn, ma.
All right, thank you very much. I mean, I've just enjoyed listening to all of you. Really exciting. I think I'll just wrap up mine in about 2 minutes. So I started reading when I was about 3 years old. My dad was or is a civil engineer. My mom, a teacher, administrative. So we had a library, and it was stocked with encyclopedias. So I was the only child for some years, so all I had at home were these books, you know, to read and to read the entire volumes. And I recall when, I think about 2 or 3 years ago, when I wanted to set up a library, I asked a vendor to supply me encyclopedia, just as I remembered in my childhood. And when he told me about the cost, I screamed. So I had to run back to my parents and say, do me one favor. Can you gift me those encyclopedias I read as a child? Because that's the greatest memory I have, you know, as a child. Now, why did I enjoy encyclopedias? Because I had a very inquisitive mind. I read everything. I read about world wars. I read about colonialism. I read about slave trade. I read about Black history. Everything that was on print, I would read it. And that evolved into the kind of books I love to read. So if I read a work that is sedentary, I would drop it. If I read a work that is intellectual, so it's layered, it's complex, it's teaching me everything, and it's doing it in a very literal sense, I tend to go towards those books. I also came across poetry when I was also very, very young. So I did a lot of poetry reading, but it was more for the English authors. I didn't delve too much into African poetry, just now I'm trying to go into that space. So the likes of Lord Byron, John Keats, you know, I enjoyed their work. I also enjoyed Maya Angelou. I enjoyed her story. I think I'm more also driven first to the personalities, to know what caused them to go into writing. So Buche Mechta, for instance, I'm crazy about her personal experience. So what makes me go towards a book first is the personality, the personal experiences, what has cast that direction for them, and then I go read the books. For my writing, I started writing very young. So wherever I find myself in life, from primary school, secondary school, I was always the scribe. And I was a scribe because I pay attention to detail. I had taken a whole view of my world. And coming into the writing space, I would say thanks a lot to Anote. Anote was someone who I sent my very first manuscript to, you know, to take a look at it. So in a nutshell, it's literary work for me. I read Shakespeare. I love Shakespeare. I love, like I said, complex, real literary work. That's for me. Milk and Honey, a poetry book by Rupi Kaur, was a book I fell in love with. So I bought it at a bookshop at the airport. So we're traveling back to Nigeria. And all through that flight, I was screaming and I was laughing. So I would implore you to take a look at it. It's an exciting book. So here's literature, which was being narrated in a very, very informal. And just as Wole Soyinka in the Earth Day event was imploring all to write poetry from a very almost relaxed, you know, point of view. Overall, I would say that my soft spot is reading and my soft spot is writing. And it's a pleasure to be with each and every one of you. So over to you, Osaze. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for that.